Hey, it's Jared with Gear and Light. Today we're going to talk about my FX3 cinema rig that I use for filming videos here and also for client jobs. I have it all in my case. I just got back from a trip flying in Alaska with a friend of mine, and I took my FX3 setup not only to film a little bit of stuff that we were doing together, flying in his plane through Homer, Alaska, but also to help him set up his own studio. My friend Chris, who runs the YouTube channel Angle of Attack, is a flight instructor in Homer, Alaska, and he is getting a studio set up that I helped him get put together in his hangar. And so with an FX3 and some other stuff, I brought my stuff along so that we can get him dialed in with his new equipment. And so now I'm back and I have basically my travel kit. This I carry with me on a plane. This is a Pelican case, the 1510 case, which they've got upgraded models that are a little lighter weight, and I think I may be getting to the point where I need to upgrade my case to a lighter weight version. But this is my case that carries my FX3 rig and anything that I don't want to check on the airplane, which usually is my camera, my lenses, stuff like that. So let's open up the case. We're going to pull everything out and we're going to reassemble my FX3 rig together. So we're going to start by just kind of pulling things out and talking about the different parts that I have. Now this primarily has Smallrig and Blue Kondor parts. It's kind of morphed between the two different brands just based on what I like from the two different brands. They're both fantastic brands and they both have different pros and cons depending on the parts that you're looking at. So I have some rails. I'm going to get some of the stuff out here and then we'll get the case out of the way because obviously there's not enough room on my table to do all of this. I've got my handle, the base unit itself. There's another piece that can go on this that I don't use. It's a little mini rod that I don't use, but I take it with me just in case. I've got the Smallrig battery plate. I've got my 45 millimeter IRIX cine lens. We've got the FX3 itself, and it has a Smallrig case on it right now, or cage on it, and then it has the plate that goes into the base unit that is from Blue Kondor. I've got my Atomos Ninja. This is the V Plus here. Already running out of room. The Smallrig grip and some cables. I've got a USB. This is a coiled, fantastic find, this thing. This coiled USB, both with angles, 90-degree angles. It's USB-A to USB-C, and this goes right in the battery. Absolutely fantastic. And then this is the Atomos battery, which is a D-tap to like the Sony plate, and it goes right on the Atomos so that I could power both the camera and the Atomos together. And then in this little pouch here I have a variety of cables, and I keep my my HDMI cable in here. This is from Zillar, Z-I-L-R, a high-speed cable, and I think that's all that I have in here that I'm using at the moment. I have some extra cables in here. I carry stuff with me. I'm going to get this out because I know I'm going to need it later to transfer footage. So I keep my lapel mics in here, some sensor cleaning swabs, some additional cables, XLR, stuff like that. This is all part of my travel kit. I have another IRIX lens here, the 150 millimeter macro. I have this light here. This is from Bowling. This is one of those LED panel lights that I carry with me all the time. Not only works great as just a flashlight so that I could see everything in here, but it also comes in handy. I'll show you a little bit of footage from filming in Alaska in Chris's hangar where we lit various areas of his hangar. And then there's another one of those panels here wrapped up. I just had it wrapped up so it wouldn't bang against the Atomos. This is a Pocket Light F7, and this one's super bright. I use this one a lot, probably even more than the Bowling, but they're all both really good. And then I have my Rode video mic NTG in here. I've got battery charger for the Sony. I've got another little Sony lens in here, some cables, some extra batteries, some tools, and all that good stuff. So this is my travel case, and if I'm filming, then in my travel case I get I put my FX3 in here. If I'm going in for photography, then I put more photography gear in here. All right, so let's get this case off the table and let's start looking at our setup. All right, so let's take a look at the FX3 itself and talk about what's already on it. Of course, I have the Smallrig cage. There are a couple cages available. There's like a half cage and then this full cage. This cage will not allow me to use the FX3 handle that also has the XLR support. I don't typically need to use that because I'm usually miking my subjects and I can capture audio in an alternative way. I did get my hands on the half cage for the FX3, and I just felt that it didn't provide enough support for what I was doing with my kit, and so I decided to go with the full cage instead of going with the half cage. You can see I've got a couple of NATO rails attached. I've got a NATO rail up here, which is what I will attach the handle to, and then I have one on the side which I attach the handle grip to, and then on this side here I have a cable lockdown for the HDMI so that way it doesn't get yanked out on accident. And then on the bottom I have the plate that comes with the Blue Kondor base kit here, which we'll attach here in a second. I usually start out by just throwing the handles and everything on. This particular handle is Blue Kondor, and the reason that I went with this handle as opposed to just using the Smallrig handle, which I have the Smallrig handle here, you can see they're pretty close to the same size. The Blue Kondor handle is a little bit larger, and it also has, I'd say, better mounting points for what I'm using. They're both pretty similar as far as what they offer. They both have support for like a 15mm rail here or rod here. They both have plenty of mount points all over them. I guess the benefit to the Smallrig is that it has a little tool hidden away here, and then the benefit of this Blue Kondor is that it has a little bit more contoured in the handle, and it just feels a little bit better. And I do like this Kondor Blue monitor mount. I realize I've been calling them Blue Kondor most of this video. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep attaching items to our setup. We'll go ahead and slide the handle here on the side and lock it down. And looking good. We'll go ahead and throw the lens on next. So we'll grab our IRIX lens, which IRIX has these rounded, this drives me up the wall, these rounded lens caps that are impossible to set the lens down. And then of course the back cap that comes on the lens is not that great, but the lenses themselves are pretty fantastic. So I guess I can't get mad at them, can't stay mad at them for long. So now we'll go ahead and throw our base on. I'm going to slide that into place, and we'll lock it down for a moment. We may have to make some adjustments there. There is a lock right here. I do like the Kondor Blue base better than the base that I was using that came with Smallrig. The Smallrig base just didn't seem very stable. The plate that went on the bottom of the camera, it kind of locked in, and things were kind of, I don't know, they just looked crunched in and it didn't lock down. Let me see if I can actually show you here on this plate. So on this plate, I don't know if you can see it, when you tighten this down, it feels like it kind of pulls it in, and it just, when you loosen it, it just kind of grinds a little bit. It didn't feel too good. When you've got a expensive camera setup that you're putting together here, you want to feel really confident about everything that you have going on. All right, so now we're moving on to the rods. We're going to put in the rods. We'll slide them in like so. And then moving around to the back here, we have the Smallrig V-mount base plate that has on a swivel. And I love this because I can lay the battery down flat if I need to, or I could put it up at a 90, make adjustments to it however I need to based on how I need to configure the weight for this setup. I like having a balanced rig. I see a lot of pictures of people building out these rigs that look great, but they don't balance, and holding that all day, and of course holding it while you're trying to film and having to put pressure on it to hold it level, I think is I don't know. I couldn't film like that all day. Maybe I'm getting old and I just need things to be convenient, but I don't think anybody would want to film like that all day. All right, so we've got that on. Next, we're going to move on to the Polar Pro base camp system. So we'll go ahead and pull this guy out. This traveled with me as well. And what I have here is the expansion system that they just came out with, I don't know, a few months ago, I guess, which allows for a second filter to be slid in. And so I typically have the 2 to 5 stop variable ND, and then I also have the circular polarizer in there as well. Sometimes I will throw the additional ND, either another 2 to 5, or I also have the 6 to 9, the variable ND 6 to 9, and then I also have a few other filters as well that will fit in here. So I like this. It's lightweight, the filters are fantastic, and this has just been a good setup for me. So we'll go ahead and slide this on here. We're going to slide this into place and slide the lens into position. And I will lock it down onto the lens first. And then we're just going to make sure that everything is adjusted here. I like things to be nice and even. We'll just kind of loosely tighten things down just so that they're in place now. All right, so we've got the base of our system put together here. That went together pretty fast because a lot of this stuff I've already assembled before, so of course that process is going to go a lot quicker than it normally would. So now for the Atomos. So the Atomos has a Smallrig cage around it, and one of the things that I still want to get dialed in here is using a NATO clamp. Smallrig has a NATO clamp that has full articulation, and that's good because sometimes I need to have this camera on the tripod in front of me, and I like to have the Atomos flipped around pointing towards me so that I can see what's going on. Whereas on this particular setup I can't do that, but of course even what I was using before, which I don't have all of those pieces here, but what I was using before had even less maneuverability. So this is a step up, but it's still not exactly where I want to be as far as being able to move the Atomos around for the different scenarios that I find myself in. So I'm using the Kondor Blue right now because I like it. It's very nice and lightweight, and not only does it swivel back and forth like this, but it swivels forward and backwards, and so that is nice. It's not everything that I want in it, but it's pretty good. All right, so now we can move on to a little bit of cable management. We don't have the battery on here yet. That's on the charger behind me. We'll throw the battery on in a few minutes. And so we'll throw this USB. So let me talk about this for a second. If you've ever had Sony cameras, when you plug something in to charge your Sony camera, the very smallest of light shows up and lets you know that you're actively charging. This cable has an LED in here or some sort of lighting in here, and it lets you know when you're charging, which is fantastic. So if there's current draw, this lights up, which lets me know that the battery is charging. Now, I used to use the Kondor Blue dummy replacement battery that went to DTAP, but I decided I wanted to minimize and simplify things. With a camera like this, I just wanted to use the native batteries that it's supposed to use, and so I use USB-C charging to the V-mount battery as opposed to using the replacement battery that just powers the entire camera. That way I have kind of a fail-safe or a backup plan, I guess you could call it. If my V-mount battery fails for any reason, Yes, the Atomos will probably fail as well, but the camera itself will not, and I can be recording both to the camera and the Atomos and have some redundancy there. So I like that aspect of it, and that's why I have this charging option instead of the dummy battery. All right, so let's just go ahead and throw the V-mount battery on here. So we'll slide this into view. So as I mentioned, this battery being able to swivel it around, lay it flat, completely get it out of the way is really good for being able to finalize my balance here. I want this camera to balance out, so when I'm holding it from my hand, it is fairly balanced, which it's pretty darn close as it is, but we'll dial that in a little bit more here in a moment. So we'll throw that USB-C in right here, and this Indy Pro battery has both a USB port on the side of it as well as a DTAP port on the side of it. Lastly, we'll put in our HDMI. Real quickly, I wanted to show you that. You see that green light? It lights up the logo there. Absolutely fantastic. Now, this flopping around has been a little bit of a frustration. With this particular swivel head here, I'm constantly needing to readjust this, and I don't know if I just haven't found the perfect adjustment or what, but it seems to constantly becoming loose. So I don't know if I'll be sticking with the Kondor Blue swivel here. This is a swivel that attaches with the ARRI attachment, and then of course with the 1/4-20. Like I said, I want to replace that. So I've got my system pretty much put together here. Things might need to just be cinched down a little bit. There are lots of points here to consider and make sure that you have cinched down. And I think I am good to go. So let's see how balanced we are right now. We are pretty much perfectly balanced. I think we might be leaning just a little bit to the side, and I have a little bit of adjustment for that here, so I can slide the handle over a bit, and we should be pretty much perfect. So this is my FX3 setup here. Just to walk you through it, it's the FX3 with both Smallrig and Kondor Blue parts throughout, as I described. We've got the Atomos Ninja V Plus here. We've got the Polar Pro Basecamp filter setup here, matte box setup, and this camera works fantastic handheld. It's maybe a little beefy for handheld, but it's still relatively light. And then of course we've got the handle here for lower shots or just for carrying it. Relatively well balanced setup without too much going on. And of course, people have asked me in previous videos, what about focusing? This is very much a manual focus setup, and I manual focus it by hand. Most of the time when I'm shooting, I've got it kind of tucked in to my side here, and I've got my hand on the lens, and I'm adjusting like so. These, like a follow focus out here, wouldn't do me any good because I'd have to put so much of the weight of the camera on that follow focus wheel that it wouldn't work out. And of course, with some sort of electronic follow focus, I've seen those, where I might be able to adjust it here with my thumb, but that's just, I don't need that. I need lightweight, or as lightweight as possible. And this setup here, holding onto the lens, being able to manual focus it as I can just look right into the Atomos. It's right there in front of me, and everything works out pretty well. I've gotten really good results with this setup. So all the parts and everything that I've got here are linked up down below. If you have any questions, you can ask down in the comment section below. I hope that you enjoyed watching me build this out and kind of discuss why I'm using things and how I've got it set up. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Otherwise, I'll see you back in another video soon. Take care.